Climber. It's not enough that your song doesn't have any reason for the artist not to cut it. A lack of reasons to say no to your song does not equal a yes. If you want to get your song recorded by a major artist, you must have a major built-in yes. What does that mean? We're going to talk about that today on The Climb. Johnny, do that thing you do.
Welcome to The Climb! This is a show dedicated to helping singers, songwriters, and indie artists like you create leverage in the music business. Leverage is what you're going to need to win. The good news is you don't need anybody's permission. You can do it yourself. The bad news is you got to do it yourself. And you got to be smarter than the average bear. You got to be an artist and a little bit of a marketer and a little bit of a business person. But you can do it. When you start to make those waves, the people you want to work with will come out of the woodwork to fall at your feet and kiss your ring and tell you that you're the greatest thing that ever existed, right? That's why we called it The Climb. C.L.I.M.B, creating leverage in the music business. Brilliant! That's a Baxter from Brent Baxter, my co-host, my good friend, and a hit songwriter. It's got cuts by Alan Jackson, Randy Travis, Lady A, Joe Nichols, and more. Couple number ones in Southern gospel in the last couple years, 2-3 years. Got a top 10 in the last couple months in Australian radio. So he's making miracles happen. And what I love about Brent is he helps songwriters like you by revealing how you write like a pro, do business like a pro. And when you get all that stuff together, man, the final piece of the puzzle is just to get you connected with some pros who can get that stuff cut and get you in the right writing rooms. And he does that too. You can find him at songwritingpro.com. Once again, that's songwritingpro.com.
And I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Johnny Dwinell. Johnny owns Daredevil Production. They're breaking artists digitally by identifying new fans through data. Look, if you're an artist looking to increase your streams, blow up your video views, sell more live show tickets, and get discovered by new fans, TV, and music industry pros, then Daredevil Production can help. Daredevil has worked with multi-platinum artists like Colin Ray, Tracy Lawrence, Ty Herndon, and Andy Griggs, just to name a few. You can find Johnny at daredevilproduction.com. That is production singular, no S, and there is no S because there is no other Johnny D.
What's happening, brother?
We're still hanging in there, brother. Hanging in there. Stuff to do. Long list for today, like every day.
My list is crazy right now, man.
So that's how we do it. Man, what do? We just do more.
Two
Keep
people
going.
that are helping me, like with the whole workload, just gone out of the on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Not in the game, and all of a sudden it's just me and 5 other basketball players, and I'm trying to make it happen by myself.
Yeah, you're playing 5-on-3, huh?
I'm playing
5-on-1.
Yeah,
right.
It's 5-on-1 right now. Oh my gosh! So, yeah, it's been a lot, but listen, it's a high class problem. I got a lot of business, so that's good.
That's all right. That's all right.
What are we gonna learn today, huh?
So I was doing a song feedback the other day for a member of the Songwriting Pro community. So that's a service I offer at songwritingpro.com/coaching. It's song feedback. You send me your song, I listen to it, I record my feedback, and I send it back to you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not a real-time meeting, but that way I get a stew on the song and get it back to you within usually about a week. But anyway, so I was doing the song feedback the other day for a member of the community. And as I was recording the evaluation, it hit me that my feedback for this particular writer would probably be helpful for a lot of writers. So I wanted to make an episode out of it. So that's what we're doing today.
All right. Well, before we do that, let's take care of a little business here. Join the C.L.I.M.B community on Facebook. It's facebook.com/groups/the C.L.I.M.B community.
That's right.
And you got to ask to be let in. We let everybody in. If you're good boys and girls, you get to stay in. If you're not, you're going to get roadhoused out. But there's a place in there where you talk about your gigs, where you talk about your new music, and where you talk about your wins. And we're going to talk about wins, right? So
that's right. Every Wednesday, we have our New Heights post where we encourage you to share your wins with us so we can celebrate with you. In the comments of the New Heights post, it has the mountains on there. You see it every Wednesday. You can even go back a week or two. It's fine, just in there. And so we have more than we can share this week, as always, which is awesome. But I'm going to share 2 of these with you that caught my eye. The first one is from climber Michael McFarland. He says, just got word that at least 3 songs Stephen Charles and I wrote, and with an up-and-coming Southern rock artist. One also had Patrick Adams killing it on the right, made the cut for an album slated to be released this fall. So nice. That is awesome. Michael and Stephen and Patrick, So good stuff happening there. If you listen to last week's episode, Patrick also had a win in there. So just winning all over the place.
Right,
And
they're
another
just
one,
working. They're constantly working.
yes, I know.
It's amazing how many wins they come up with when they're just constantly working, right?
It's the grind,
But
baby.
there's no luck with these people. They make
No.
their own luck.
Another one I want to share today is from Carrie Latham. She says, Terry Wayne, Marla Rubenstein, and I got our song Pennies and Wishes placed on hold for a 2023 movie being filmed in Mississippi, set in the 1950s. So,
Right.
woohoo, we are just so excited. Just wrote it, so it's a quick placement for us. Some Marla's on there going, I don't think the ink's even dry on the lyric sheet yet. So, congrats, Carrie and Terry and Marla. That is awesome. So, one thing I've noticed on these, as we do these, is you see a lot of the names cross-pollinating,
Mm.
right? Marla writes, she may have something with Randy Maynard, and then Marla has something with Carrie, and then Carrie may have something with Patrick or with Rick
Mhm.
Hamburgy or whatever. It's like you see these names that are just popping up in different things going, oh, it's like they get in, they start meeting each other in the community, and they start collaborating,
Yeah.
and good stuff is happening, right? So that's fun to see. And of course, they're commenting on each other's stuff and giving attaboys and attagirls and all
Yep.
that good stuff, which is fun.
That's
So
right.
congrats, y'all. Keep on climbing.
That's awesome. I love it. All right. So, hey, follow the Climb community or subscribe to it, whatever platform you're on, and tell a friend about it. That's what's important, guys. You're listening for a reason. People continue to binge this when they get turned on to it. They go binge. They go listening to all, they cherry pick like a boatload. God, there's how many episodes to choose from now? 365.
365, one for each day of the year, not even counting, pull out Friday episodes like song title challenges and all that good stuff.
I never even thought about it that way. That's just regular episodes. It's really like if you consume one episode a day, you couldn't consume our whole catalog of episodes, including all of the external, the bonus
Right.
stuff that we put out on Fridays. You couldn't do that in like 2 years.
So I hate to say it, Patrick Adams, when you are doing your yearly re-listen to all of it, you have your work cut more and more out for you every day.
We're just making it worse.
I know.
So, all right.
Anyway.
So talk to me about this big yes.
Yeah.
I love the word yes, by the way. Love it.
Yeah, I do too. It's nice.
That's my favorite word.
And a good band too, I guess. So anyway, again, I was doing a song evaluation, which is a service I provide. And so this, I'm going to give a little, basically the theme of this episode is your song must have a big yes. So here's a little backstory of the song that was sent into my song evaluation service. It was good. This song had a solid melody and it had a solid lyric. It checked a lot of the commercial country boxes. It was mid to up tempo. It was positive. It was a love song. It had a lot of imagery and it had a fairly unique title. So I had no problem with any of that. Just check, 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 all this stuff, right? It had no reason in that checklist for an artist to say no to it. But there was a problem. Johnny, it was a song about riding around in your truck with a hot girl. So,
imagine that.
What's the problem with that? Johnny, can you name a country song about riding around in your truck with a hot girl?
I'm going to name about 50 of them. Yeah.
Exactly. So, yeah, that's the thing. It's like, oh, where do I narrow it down? We got Chillin' It by Cole Swindell, Cruise by Florida Georgia Line, How Country Feels by Randy Houser, Take a Little Ride, Jason Aldean, Something About a Truck, Kip Moore, I Don't Want This Night to End by Luke Bryan, Ready, Set, Roll for Chase Rice, and a whole lot more. So that's just like, that's just a small little taster, little sample, little flight of these, right? You get the idea. There are so many of these songs cruising around Music Row that how is yours going to stand out from the pile and get cut, especially if you're not writing with the artist? So it just goes into the pile of 1,000 other songs that are good, capable, professional grade songs. There's no reason to say no to that song, to your song, but there's not a big reason to say yes to it. Okay?
Yeah. On a side note,
Mm-hmm.
this just hit me. What is it about that's just so compelling about driving around like a hot chick in your car? Like, if we're driving around, we're getting somewhere, right? Like,
Yes.
nobody ever talks about where they're going to. Like,
Right.
What is the fascination with driving around in your car with somebody? Whoever it is, I don't care if it's Cindy Crawford or the Giselle Bundchen or whatever, like the hottest chick in the world. Like, who gives a shit? Like, this just hit me. Like, why? Like, where are we going? Like, why aren't we talking about that? Like, we're on our way to a huge bonfire.
if you grew up where I grew up in Batesville, Arkansas, the going was the only place to go.
Okay, well, maybe.
Like there wasn't a
Even
whole
then,
lot
you're
else.
going somewhere. Nobody just drives around, do they? Aren't
Yeah,
they going to like Billy
it's
Bob's
called
house?
it's called cruising, and you're kind of going around seeing your friends, hey buddy, or like
Really?
Walmart. We got Walmart, you know, so like especially
Oh,
like at least my experience growing up is like, you know, we didn't like my house, your place, whatever. Um, or we're like, oh, Walmart's still open, or Taco Bell maybe. There's not a lot of places to go if there wasn't a party or something else going on, or you're going to go see a movie and eat afterwards or something like that. There
oh, so
wasn't
you're
a
driving
whole
up
lot
and
to
down like the
do.
boulevard. Okay.
Yeah, and you're driving out the country, just driving around, talking, listening to the radio, and all that stuff too. So
Okay. All
yeah,
right. Okay, I digress.
that was my experience anyway. But also, I think part of it probably because you listen to music in the car or the truck, right, as you're driving around. So it's like
Yeah.
it fits what I'm doing. That probably didn't hurt
So what
either.
you're saying though is like you got this really great song, and if it's just like
It,
all these other songs, then
well, I would say it
if
was
it's
good.
if it's competitive, the
Hmm.
artist is going to choose a friend,
Well,
right?
yeah. So yeah, so this song was kind of checking the boxes that we kind of go, okay, this helps turn the odds in your favor if you check these boxes with your song, but still it's like for your version of this song that we've all written. Okay, we've all written it. You've written the driving around in the truck with the girl thing, whatever, and you're going to write it again and again. For you to get that version of that song, your version of that song to get recorded by a major artist, it has to be freaking unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
It has to beat out the artist version of that song because you know the artist has written it. It has to beat out the producer's co-write of that song because you know they've written it. And it has to beat out all the artist buddies' version of this song because you know they've written it. We all have our version of the song. And if the artist is going to cut one of these types, like you just said, Johnny, like you better give them a really good reason to cut your version of that song rather than everyone else's, everyone
Yeah.
in their inner circle. It's really that simple. Now, simple doesn't mean easy, but it's that simple. Um, but also I just kind of want to sidebar here and hey, I don't want to be a total downer here. Like if you're writing some of these types of songs, I think it really does point in a good direction and it says a lot of good things about your songwriting. For example, like say this particular songwriter, this one that came in through the song evaluation service, it shows that the writer knows what works on country radio.
Hmm.
He knows that artists cut this type of song. He knows that up-tempo, positive love songs work. And so that's all good stuff, right? Like you're not off on this own little planet where you have you ever listened to country radio? No, this writer has obviously listened to country radio and he's building things that are appropriate for the market and the building blocks are there, you know?
Hmm.
So what it comes down to is for me, that song was just lacking the big yes. So my review of it was like all positive. This is great. This is great. This is good. You're doing this. You're doing that. That's great. Now we just need the magic fairy dust. All right.
Can I hold on?
Yeah.
I'm not sure if this is where you're going, but
Okay.
I think the point's relevant if you're going there or not. I just had this conversation with Mackenzie O'Brien, one of my artists,
Yeah.
right? We just cut her record. Dude, I
Mhm.
can't wait
Yeah.
for you to hear. Oh my god, I forgot to tell you about this. Is like, oh, was so fun. So quick side note, like on
Oh, if it's okay
Sugar
if you tell
Daddy.
me how great one of my songs turned out.
Yeah,
That's
no,
fine.
I'm telling you how great one of your songs turned out on Sugar
Okay, you
Daddy
can do that
Issues
for me.
because it's such a weird song, right? It's just so
So
unique.
bizarre.
It's almost like a novelty song. You could call it that, right? Um,
Mhm.
because of that, Zach and I, my co-producer Zach Allen, we just I've never done this before. Usually, you go into the studio, you got everybody in there, you're gonna play the work tape of the song, show them the
Mhm.
chart, they're gonna hear the melody, they're gonna hear the groove on the work tape, and then maybe you're gonna play them like a reference sonically, like, hey, we want to kind of this is the orbit we want to be in.
Mhm.
What we did is we played them a reference song for the orbit, like sonically, this is the world we want to live in,
Mhm.
and because we just we this was like a Hail Mary. Not Hail Mary sounds like desperation because it wasn't a Hail
Yeah.
Mary and desperate. But that we had a back pocket. We knew what we were gonna do if something didn't work, but we
Mhm.
just played the beat. And
Mhm.
I had her down because it's such a specific vocal, right? Like how
Yeah.
she says that, it's all attitude and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So when y'all got done writing it, it was Blue that did the work tape on the vocal. And
Yeah.
so because she hadn't gotten her head around it yet, on how to do that. So she went up with her band, and they're not like the greatest musician. They don't know how to make records or whatever. And so they just kind of butchered it. So she came back down, and I recorded her just in my like living room. Just we worked on the phrasing for that. I'm like, now take this
Mhm.
back to the band so you're delivering it right. Well, we had that vocal. So we just
Yeah.
played the band the vocal and the beat.
Yeah.
And here's the chart. Go make this work. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
dude, it was awesome. It came
Oh,
out
that's
so
fun.
good. But what we were talking about was, and we've talked about this on podcasts before, so I'm wondering how this pertains to like if the magic fairy dust that you're talking about
Mhm.
is really the personality and the taste of the artist after they learn how to become competitive. And the conversation I just had a couple days ago with Mackenzie was like, look, all artists, like we all start out mimicking.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
There's somebody like, that just turns us on as an artist. We're like that shows us the light, and we're like, "Okay, that's what I'm gonna do." And it's the
Mhm.
same thing for a writer. Like, I always consider writers are artists, and they're like, "That's what I wanna do. That's where I wanna be." And so, we start to mimic them and mimic them and mimic them, and
Mhm.
then at some point when you do it enough,
Mhm.
you start to veer off of that road because now you've kinda learned how the clock works.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now you're kinda making your own time, right? And
Mhm.
you're doing your own thing. For Mackenzie, it was Casey Musgraves, right? Like,
Mm.
she loved Casey Musgraves, and I think she, she put out a bunch of music that was just, like, really kind of right on that line, and she did it,
Mhm.
and then she just reached that point, that door that every artist has to walk through where they are like, "Okay, this is boring now. Like, I'm done doing this. I have to do my own
Mhm.
thing." And we were talking about, like, this project that we just recorded with, like, not 1 but 2 Brent songs on there,
Yeah.
um, is the closest project she's put out so far. It's the closest to her truth,
Yeah.
right? It's her voice, and
Mhm.
that's what makes it special. Do you think is that what you're kinda talking about, the magic fairy dust? Because basically you're saying, "Okay, this song was good." So they learned
Mhm.
how the clock works. They made this competitive. This holds
Mhm.
up, but it ain't
Yeah.
gonna get cut until you make friends with Jason Aldean, until you make friends with,
Right.
with that producer, and, so you need something more than that to.
Yes, it needs something different. It might be a great title, a concept, a crazy, like melody, phrasing, something that really stands out.
Yeah,
Because I want my songs to be like a yes or no song, like not a throw it in the pile with all the others just like it song. Because
right.
I don't like my odds in a stack of songs, right?
Oh, that's
It's
good,
because
yeah. Hard
somebody's
yes
gonna
or hard no.
exactly. And like Sugar Daddy Issues that McKinsey cut.
Yeah.
Now we didn't have to pitch that because we wrote it with her, but that's a hard yes or no song.
That's a hard yes or no song. So this is the kind of song, it's like it's what I mean, it's almost like a novelty song that, and by the way, so we had, the musicians we had in there, not the normal cast of characters I work with, 'cause
Mhm.
she's not really country, right? She's kinda like alt country, alt pop,
It's
pseudo
almost like a
Americana, kinda like.
it's almost like an alt Lizzo song.
It really is almost like that. It is, and so it's all about, like, how you deliver that line, and dude, she crushed it,
Yeah,
by the way. She fucking crushed
great.
it. But but yeah, it's like one of those that could just be that's how the consumer's gonna take it. This is
Yeah,
and I think it just has the DNA to go, like, super viral. Like, it
yeah,
has it whether it will or it won't, I don't know, but it
mhm,
certainly has it to where all of a sudden every girl's doing their stupid selfie, and they're
right.
like, "Sugar daddy
Maybe.
issues."
Right. It's more of a binary choice, like, either you love it or you don't.
Yeah,
Either but you like, for an artist, if I'm pitching to them, they're hopefully gonna love it or they don't, but they're not gonna have a ton like it. So
yeah,
if you love it, there's a good chance you're gonna cut it. Then it comes down to, do I wanna cut this or not? Not, do I wanna cut this or the other 50 like it, 3 of which I wrote. They're gonna cut the one they wrote
right.
because they're more tied to it emotionally and financially. So like, yeah, Sugar Daddy Issues. I remember hearing a song when I like right after I moved to Nashville. I was hanging out with Norman DeVasure, who was he was very kind to me. He worked at RPM Music when I first met him. We did like a single song on a song that I'd written, and then he went independent, and I was hanging out with him some. And anyway, he played me the song. I was like, "What do you think about it?" And I don't remember what the name of the song was now, but I was like, I don't know if I love it or I hate it. He goes, good. That's a sign that might be a hit. It's reactive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't know if I love it or I hate it. He goes, okay, good. That's a good sign. And it's that kind of binary thing. Like you're not going to have a lot like it.
Yep.
And so I'm going through and like, okay, if this is the hypothesis of
Which isn't
binary
safe, by
story,
the way, is it? It's not safe. It
it's
doesn't
not
feel
safe,
safe.
but safe. Middle of the road is where everyone gets run over, kind of
That's
thing,
right. That's
right?
right. No,
So
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
yeah, it's a safe, not going to get cut song.
Mhm.
So looking at my outside
Safely
cut,
not gonna get cut.
yeah, it's safe. It's predictable. Great. You're not going to get that cut. So looking at some of my outside cuts. So these are songs that I did not write with the artist. I did not write with the producer. We did not have the machinery or leverage or politics in our favor. This was cut because they loved the song.
Mhm.
So Monday Morning Church by Alan Jackson. It was a different title and a different way of presenting the tried and true Somebody I Love Has Died song, right?
Mhm.
Every Head Bowed was cut by Randy Travis. It was a funny song from the point of view of like a 7 or 8-year-old or 6-year-old kid in church. There can't be that many of those floating around Nashville, right?
Okay.
Crickets by Joe Nichols was a funny story that didn't do what you had expected it to do with that title. It was different. So, and each of these songs had like reasons for an artist to say no. Monday Morning Church is slow, it's sad, it talks about yelling at God. Okay, Every Head Bowed is kind of silly. It has Spork and Twinkie in the lyric. Yeah, for real. Crickets doesn't put the singer in the best light. Like his mouth gets him in kind of a funny, uncomfortable spot. Okay, so he's not coming out looking amazing at the end of this. He's just human, and we kind of laugh, hopefully with him more so than at him. But like, there's reasons to say no to each of these, and there were several artists who did say no to each of these songs. We pitched them around, so they weren't for everybody, but that's okay because those songs were for somebody. Not everybody. Write a song that's for somebody. You try
Mhm.
to write a song that's for everybody, you kind of end up hitting nobody. Nobody's going to hear it if you write it for everybody.
Yeah.
Write the song for somebody. So, like on those songs, Monday Morning Church, Crickets, Every Head Bowed, like either the artist wanted to cut those songs or not. The choice wasn't, oh, let's cut this song written by some guy I don't know, or the other 500 good ones that are a whole lot like it. So I had a Brad Paisley hold about 2 weeks before they cut for the what ended up being like Seventh Gear record. And so I ran into Brad at this number one party down the road. So I'm gonna introduce myself because I have a reason to now. And anyway, so I'm like, hey Brent, I'm hey Brad, I'm Brent. I wrote this song, blah blah blah, and I think y'all have it on hold right now. So I just want to say thanks and I'm glad you like it. He goes, man, that is a perfectly written song. And I'm like, well, that's what Writing with Byron Hill will do for you. but um, And so I'm like, got my fingers crossed and my hopes up that, okay, they're cutting about like a week and a half, 2 weeks. They didn't cut it. So I'm like, well, it seems like a pretty sure bet when they go, that's like perfectly written. Well, then the record came out and I went and bought it bitterly and was listening to it. I hate listening because my song didn't make it. And then, like, what they did not do was replace my song with one like it that Brad had written or liked better, or that one of his crew wrote, like, Lee Thomas Miller, Kelly Lovelace, or something. Like, it wasn't one of their versions of my song that bumped me. He just didn't go to that emotional place on the record, like, at all. Just
Wow.
didn't go there. And
So
so,
it didn't fit stylistically, it just didn't fit.
yeah, it's like, I can live with that.
Yeah.
I can live with that. That just wasn't where he decided to go on that record. That song has been cut before. It's been cut since, and I have hope that it's going to see a wider audience one of these days. But that's just kind of how it is. Same thing with Lady Antebellum. I wrote a song for them called I wrote with Hillary and some other people back before Lady Antebellum got together, called A Woman Scorned, and you know that one.
I cut it.
And yeah, exactly. You cut it on an artist, and it was aggressive and fun and in your face.
Yeah.
And so Lady A loved it. They played all their shows because it was great for energy in their show. And they cut it, but it didn't make like the proper record. It ended up being a bonus track.
Yeah.
And I was miffed, of course, because I'm like, come on, you need up tempo, energy, feel good, whatever. And you've been playing it forever. Then the record came out and I listened to it. I'm like, oh, they just didn't really go there. Like
Yeah.
that was just more aggressive than their lane. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's funny, like, from a producer point of view, I mean, I'll get an artist, up here, like with Josh Roy. I mean, I think we had we cut 5 songs.
Mhm.
I think we had 18 that he had written that were pretty good, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And you really don't know, where it's gonna end up, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it just starts to, uh, what's the word? It starts to appear, you know, the more songs you get and you're like,
Mhm.
"Okay, we really like these." Like, there's like, for instance, there's one song with that Josh wrote with Blue, and I think Chick Savage, uh, that's called, "I Don't Decide."
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's from the perspective, it's all about the music business and trying to make it in the music business
Mhm.
from the perspective of the honky tonk.
Yeah.
So freaking cool, right? And I love that song. I, as the producer, wanted that song to be on the record so bad,
Mhm.
right? So bad.
Right.
But then it just became more and more apparent that this wasn't gonna work, you know? First of all, it
Yeah.
didn't fit in, it just started to stick out too much
Mm.
from the other songs that were, gonna clearly be on the record,
Yeah.
and then on that certain perspective too, it was like we just had to go for mass appeal, like, you know what? Every like, people in the music business love this song, right? He played
Mhm.
that song, Doug Johnson flipped out on it, like, songwriters are gonna freaking love it, right?
Yeah.
And that's your Bluebird song. It's a
Yeah.
friggin' Bluebird song, but the rest of the mass country audience, probably not gonna get that, you know what I mean?
Right.
It's not gonna hit them right between the eyes like the other song, so it didn't make it, you know what I mean? And
Mhm.
and my heart was a little broken, but it was the right thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
It's kinda
Which,
weird.
there's still value for that song for, say, Trick and Blue because you played it for Doug Johnson, and after he flipped, he probably said, "Who wrote that?"
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah,
And so there's value in that for the writers, to
yeah.
help open doors, build relationships, help have people, like, file you in the, "Wow, good writer,"
And
file
that
in their
song and
book.
that song, when he's in town and he's doing a writer night, like, when he's doing a freak
Mhm.
show, everybody shuts up and listens to that song. Like, that's one of those
Yeah.
songs where you're gonna get the mad respect of all the
Mhm.
other writers too, right? So that song is actually, like, really good behind the scenes for him,
Right, yeah.
and that's where it's gonna live, I think, probably forever, but, 'cause it's so freaking good, but it's like, it's probably never gonna maybe not see the light of day, I don't know
Yeah,
how it is.
some songs are that way where they they're the part of the iceberg under the water where, that song's gonna help Blue and Trick get back in the room
Yeah, and
with
Josh.
Josh
Yeah,
because he's like, "This song is awesome, I play it, so I think of you,
yeah,
and, let's go."
that's
Hopefully, as
right.
the rocket takes off, it helps them stay on board,
Yep.
keep clinging to the side of that rocket, so, but coming back to this, what you wanna do is you wanna give an artist a reason to say yes to your song, not just remove reasons to say no. When you remove reasons to say no, you get vanilla. You get the safe thing that looks like a hit song, kind of waddles like a hit song, quacks like a hit song, whatever, but ultimately people don't give a duck. Thank you. I did that. That was right there. That just came off the top of my head.
That's when you're trying to text something different on an Apple phone, and
So,
it spell
anyway,
corrects you.
yeah, exactly. You want to give the people a reason to pick your song. So maybe that's the idea or the title that's so different. Maybe it's a melody and vibe that breaks new ground. Maybe it's just a mix of the two, something that makes them go, yes. And so here's a bottom line to keep in mind. Not giving an artist a reason to say no to your song does not equal a yes. Here's another way of saying it. A lack of no does not equal yes. And
Yeah,
so I'm trying to go more, especially, maybe a little different ball game when you're writing with the artist. You still want to push, the envelope and still they got to have a reason to say,
there's nuance to this, yeah,
yeah.
when you're
So,
writing
but
with the artist.
especially, yeah, because some of my artist co-writes that have been cut, they're not as out there as some of my outside cuts that have been cut. Right? They don't have to be. You're playing a little bit of a different game. You're there with the artist, and you're in the service business, and they're choosing from a smaller stack. They're choosing from what's the best stuff I've written.
Yeah.
You know, so but the
Yeah.
outside stuff, it's like, man, don't worry about the reasons for them to say no. Worry about the reasons for them to say yes to your song.
I'm
It
wondering this just occurred to me, tell me if you agree with this, like,
Mhm.
so you say eliminating reasons to say no
Does
is
not equal yes.
does not equal a yes, but I feel like it is a it's a metric or a mile marker on your
Mhm.
songwriting journey, right?
Yes.
Like, step 1 is keep writing and keep writing and keep writing
Mhm.
until you can write good enough to eliminate all the reasons to say no. You
Yes.
gotta kinda start there,
Yes,
right?
that's
Now
what I was talking about earlier, like, this is not saying anything bad about this writer, it
yeah,
points to a lot of good things. You
yeah.
understand a lot of stuff
It's a
about
these are
writing.
necessary steps that
Mhm.
in with nuance, like, if you're in the room with the artist, maybe that song gets cut, right? Because the
Right.
artist is a co-writer on there. But then you need to go beyond that to really,
Get the
for
outside
get the
thing.
outside cut, which is essentially, probably how you're gonna break in, unless you befriend an up and coming artist
Mhm.
and you're in that class and, all of a sudden they have a huge hit. You're
Yeah.
writing with Luke Combs and Luke Combs blows up
Yeah.
out of nowhere, and now you're in all the rooms, and now you're
Right.
yeah,
It's a little bit of the Babe Ruth thing. Babe Ruth was a home run king, but he also struck out more than anybody.
yeah.
He led the league in strikeouts
Brett
because he was
Favre.
going for the big swing, right? Big swing. Yeah, Brett Favre lead them in home run or in touchdowns, but also in interceptions, that kind
Yeah,
of stuff.
yeah,
Gunslinger, right? And so that's what I've told people before is I told one writer one time in a coaching session, songwritingpro.com/coaching, that, you know, he was kind of doing that thing. It was like checking all the boxes. I'm like, all right, this is good, but this is ultimately safe. You need to have a little more Brett Favre in you, in
yeah.
your game. You need to take some swings. You need to try to go like, I'm going to try this pass. It may not work,
Yes,
but that is going to be what gives somebody reason to say no, but it's also be what gives somebody hopefully a reason to say yes.
yep.
Right. The same thing that's going to get some people to pass on it is the same reason why some people may love it. Now, this is assuming that you know how the heck to write a song,
Yeah, that you're
right? Your reason
competitive.
for no isn't it's 8 minutes long and it's boring and incomprehensible,
Yeah,
or, you know, just basic building blocks. You have to know how to write a song. So that removing the reasons to say no, that's a valuable part of, like, you've learned how to build the birdhouses, you've learned how to write the songs. Now we need you to start taking some risk, like, the rules. Okay, now start figuring out which ones you can break or push the edges on, that sort of thing. Had a back when I moved to town, I worked at Blue Water Music in the admin department, and the owner, Brownlee Ferguson, he was talking to us one day about writing, and this thing has always stuck with me. He said sometimes writers get in the room and they get so concerned with what radio will play or what radio won't play that they knock all the cool edges off their song. He's like, you
mhm.
let me worry about that. You just go be brave, creative, bring it to me as a publisher and let me worry about what edges we need to knock off. He goes, but I can't, if it's too safe and too vanilla, I can't spice it up. I'm a publisher. That's not my job. But if you bring it to me as like, oh, you went a little too far here, a little too far there, we can rein you in.
If you
I
bring it to
can't
me with
pull you out.
something as crazy as the word "spork" in the lyric,
Right.
I can tone that down and tell the singer to sing "fork" instead,
Well, you know what's funny? It's because, yeah, so Every Head Bowed with Randy Travis, it
which
said
happened.
sport. It happened. And then, and I had to convince my co-writer just Brandon Kinney, who's gone on to have a bunch of hits, but like, he's like, sport? I don't know. People want to know what that is. I'm like, let's go around the office and ask people. So we went around, I guess it was Skyline at the time, and did a little informal poll, and people like, oh, it's that little spoon fork thing at KFC. Yes, I win. Let's put it in there.
Yeah.
And now Randy was worried that people wouldn't know what it was, so he ended up changing it to fork, which I'm like, you don't get forks at KFC, buddy. But anyway, but I love you, Randy. Call me.
Yeah.
Anyway, but for some of the people at
I
the
gotta help you
label,
now.
yeah, at Warner Brothers, I remember them saying like, oh, you wrote the Spork song.
Yeah,
Like, that was kind of what
the
hung
calling
in their
card.
head.
Uh-huh.
Calling card, like, oh, that was my favorite line in the song. I can't believe you took it out.
Yeah.
Okay. He still cut
You're
it,
like, "I
thankfully.
didn't. I'm the one
Yeah.
that put it in."
So that, it might have given someone a reason to say no, but it's like, I'm not worried about, it's was that you'll know this one. I probably heard it from you. So that old story about Kiss and Gene Simmons just straight up propositioning girls in the, backstage after a Kiss concert. And he's like, it's not how many say no, it's how many say yes.
That's right.
So it's a little bit like that. It's going, I'm gonna be brave, I'm gonna be bold, I'm gonna know how to put a song together. Now I'm gonna not so worry so much about, will this give someone a reason to say no, because I'm gonna worry about giving them reasons to say yes. It's like the best defense is a good offense. I'm just going to go be offensive, right? And I'm going to worry about giving you reasons to say yes to this song, knowing that it's going to give people reasons to say no. I don't have, not everyone's going to record it. I don't need everyone to record it. I need someone to record it.
Yeah.
And so I just want to encourage y'all to be a little more fearless. When you know how to write a song, when you know the rules, to go, nah, I'm going to get a little loose with the rules.
Take that chance.
Take that chance. Have a little bit of gunslinger in you and go for it. So remember, give them a reason.
Hold on real quick. One thing, like take that chance, because you know what? Because that's what's going to get their attention, right? And then you're going to get the cut. And then if that one thing that you're hemming and hawing about, the one edge that you're trying to knock off on the song, if they feel it needs to be knocked off, they'll do it in the studio with the artist.
Yeah.
Which is what they did with Randy and Spork.
Exactly. Right? And then Randy liked it well enough that he reached out and wanted to write with me and Brandon. Which was one of my favorite days ever.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah, that was pretty darn cool. So love you, Randy.
I know that part of the story.
I didn't mention to him that I was upset he took out Spork. We just let that one go. Don't need to mention that.
I would have busted his balls. I'd have been like, you know what? You're lucky to have a writing session with me, Randy, because you took out Spork. And you
Fuck you, buddy.
Yeah. That was the best part of the song. Everybody knows it is a Spork song. I bet you Randy knows it as the Spork song.
That's funny. So I just worry about what other people would worry about. So anyway, bottom line, give the artist a reason to say yes. Don't just give them no reason to say no. So what's the big yes of your song? Every song should have a big yes. And so, hey, as we're finishing up here, I want to help you check those boxes, right? Like I can't give you the big yes for your song. I can't provide that for you, but I can help you get to where you're checking the boxes and you're building good songs, and to encourage you to get to the big yes. And that's with my free PDF download. It's called 6 Simple Ways to Make Your Songs More Commercial. 6 Simple Ways to Make Your Songs More Commercial. You can get that at 6, the number 6, simpleways.songwritingpro.com. That is 6 simpleways.songwritingpro.com. Or you can just go to songwritingpro.com, wheel around a little bit, you'll find it. But it's my gift to you. Just tell me where to email it. I email it right out to you. And it's going to help you know the rules and how to get the odds in your favor, so that then when you start taking chances based off that platform, you have a good solid foundation. Then you're able to take some chances, right?
It's a great framework for writing killer songs.
Exactly. So 6simpleways.songwritingpro.com.
There you go. All right, guys. So that brings us to the end of another Killer Climb episode. Make sure that you subscribe or follow the podcast. Tell a friend about it. Join the Climb community. This podcast exists because we want you to win, so keep on climbing.
And we'll see you at the top.